2023. And that's why I try not to say, oh, at least it can't get any worse, because it can and it will. Yeah, as you might be able to tell, I did not have a very good 2023. Mentally, I was at an all-time low, and it was to the point where I didn't even play as many games as I usually do. However, the games I did play, 2023 has been one of the best years for video games, but for the industry, it's been pretty horrible. Because of this, before I discuss some of my favorite releases this year, let's take a moment of silence to remember those we lost along the way. My condolences to all who were laid off, and a sincere thank you to everyone who contributed to this industry in any way. Now I'd like to celebrate my 2023 as a year in gaming by getting into some fun-ass memories and some fun-ass games I played this year, while awarding the best along the way. Some may know that Xenoblade 3 was my game of the year for 2022 because of my mild obsession with it. I've talked about it before, and suffice it to say, I like it quite a bit. You wanna know what's better than Pokemon though? Depression. Unrelated, Xenoblade 3 is simply one of the best games of all time. For me, the only game that surpasses it is Breath of the Wild. It's that good. Damn, I'm really happy I've changed and grown as a person since then. See, I'm using a camcorder now! Well, this year, the story DLC for Xenoblade 3, Future Redeemed, came out, and wow! This series just doesn't miss. This DLC was so obviously made with the fans in mind. It'll sound weird, but basically this is a prequel to 3, but also the conclusion to the Klaus saga, which for those uncool enough not to be in the know, is every Xenoblade game up until this point. I honestly was a little skeptical about this game. I knew it'd be about 20 hours, which is a good length, but a massive part of what made Xenoblade 3 so incredible to me was how all of the characters were developed over the minimum 60-hour length. I didn't know whether they'd be able to pull off something similar with less time.
I'm feeling full of beans!
Yes! I'm feeling so full of beans right now! So, needless to say, I was wrong. Dude, it just doesn't miss! The story and characterization in this game is immaculate, absolutely up to the incredibly high standards that the series has set for itself. Matthew, A, Glimmer, Nicole, Rex, and Shulk are all superbly developed and are all my children. If you do not like even a single one of them, please find the nearest wood chipper and throw yourself in it. Thank you very much. And that is not a joke or a recommendation, that is a threat. Their designs are fantastic, and their personalities are even better. The cast is just so perfectly balanced. Alpha was a fantastic villain, and Niall's character was also very well done. The plot was instantly intriguing, with an absolutely incredible finale which will go down as one of the best moments in the entire series. Again, it absolutely lives up to the series' pedigree, with deep themes and a fantastically balanced tone. I do have one small critique, that being that Glimmer and Nicole could have used a little bit more screen time, but that is a small blemish on an otherwise impeccably executed story. Peak fiction, ladies and gentlemen, holy shit! I also really enjoyed the world of Future Redeemed. It's really dense and full of these little optional side areas which are a joy to discover. The influence from 1 and 2 is even more poignant than in 3's world. One of the coolest moments of the game was walking into this grassy area and hearing a familiar theme kick in, and bam! Colony 9 was right in front of me. This is a location from Xenoblade 1, and having played that game, it was so heartwarming to go back there. It was familiar, but different, changed by the passage of time, but still undeniably Colony 9. By the way, the presentation of this world is incredible. It looks even better than the base game with some of the art direction, and the music is just Xenoblade music is my religion. It combines a bunch of musical ideas from the trilogy, and as per usual, fits everything just perfectly. You're hearing it right now, and yeah, you're welcome. This is some of the best music, period, and continues the series streak of some of the most incredible soundtracks in all of gaming. Back to the world though, in this title, everything is nice and all interconnected, a first for the series. You can go from one end to the other with no loading zones, which seems to me like a taste of things to come from the series, which I am very excited to see, especially on more powerful hardware. Because as we all know, the Switch was made before dinosaurs existed. I mean, look at this shit. It's completely unplayable! Lastly,
I'm feeling full of beans!
The combat. Dude, they cooked so hard here, bro! They cooked so hard! This system takes Xenoblade 3's combat system, already the best in the series, and makes it even better. This is where all the normal people who haven't played Xenoblade are gonna get lost, but all the Xenobabes out there, you know who you are, this section's for you, you're gonna get all of this. They added a new item slot that allows you to use items that alter how your character behaves in a chain attack. This could be an 125% TP multiplier, or one that guarantees an amazing if the character is the last in the chain to attack. This one change makes chain attacks even better than they were in 3. It's fairly easy to build up TP compared to the base game, so the strategy comes from trying to manage which characters have how much. The numbers you can get with these can be ridiculous, especially if you've built Rex well. Double spinning edge is definitely the best move in the game. With the right equipment, you can refill its gauge almost completely by just using it. It's just a wee bit broken. So yeah, between the insane story, the amazing exploration, and the incredibly satisfying combat, Future Redeemed is an all-around excellent experience. It's the best DLC for anything that I've ever experienced, and beyond that, it's a fantastic game that stands super well on its own. All of that wins it the award for Best RPG, Best Soundtrack, and Best Art Direction this year. Ladies and gentlemen, peak does not get peaker than this! You just do not understand! I went to my second retro gaming expo this year. In fact, I had a whole video about it, entirely scripted and half-voiced, and never bothered to finish it because then it was kind of the end of November. I want to talk about the highlights here though. My pickups were good, my favorites being Dragon Warrior, Legend of Dragoon, and a copy of Fourside Adventures that I got a good deal on. 75 Canadian, which sounds like a lot, but for a GameCube game like Fourside Adventures, the guy gave me a deal on it. He was super cool. I went with my friend and she got Sonic 06 and Generations. We unfortunately weren't able to find a copy of Unleashed for the PS3 though. Don't worry, she's gotten it since. The expo had a ton of consoles set up to play on, and the two most exciting to me were the Virtual Boy and the Philips CDI. The Virtual Boy is a piece of hardware that really isn't half bad. It has this cool feature where you can only hear the audio when you're actually in the headset that I found really impressive, especially for the time. The screen is super crisp, and the controller is even quite comfortable. The 3D effect didn't really impress me though. It's fairly subtle, not bad, just nothing mind-blowing. I played Mario's Tennis, which is very much a 2D tennis game, which is to say, I can't. I also played Virtual Boy Wario Land. It is, incredibly, a Wario Land game. You play as this absolute unit of a man, and break shit. Fun game. There was also a Rock Band contest going on, and we popped in as it was finishing up because we wanted to catch the cosplay contest right after. This was the happiest little accident ever because we got to see a group perform Bring Me to Life by Evanescence, and their singer was beyond phenomenal. She absolutely crushed it and was even better than the original song, honestly. I really hope she's in a band. Her talent is insane. The cosplay contest afterwards was awesome too. This Princess Peach in her homemade costume, a homemade Hollow Knight, and Assassin from Tears of the Kingdom were awesome. So yeah, it's safe to say that my friend and I had a fantastic time at the expo. If you have the opportunity to go to one, I say absolutely take it. It's really fun to feel like you're a part of this kind of community, especially one that just gets you when you complain about the price of Magic Knight Rare. Around the time of the expo, what I call gaming season, pretty much what used to be E3 was happening, and a bunch of games were shown there, including the winner of my most anticipated award. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth looks incredible. I loved 7 Remake, and this seems bigger and better in literally every way. The world looks massive, and the story I'm sure will be batshit insane. I played the demo, and everything I thought about it seems to be true. The graphics are incredible, the soundtrack will probably win Best Score at the Game Awards, and the gameplay is excellent. I just can't wait to get my hands on this game. As of filming, it's been almost exactly a month since release, and I've put in around 20 or 30 hours. This video's taken a while, hasn't it? Anyone who's anyone knows that Sonic 06 is widely regarded as one of the worst games of all time, and anyone who's been on the gaming side of the internet knows that if you ever talk about Sonic in any capacity, you get crucified. I fucking love this game. That's right, you're looking at Sonic 06's biggest fan. I can be trusted with the future of society. Look, I get it. This game is buggy as hell, the controls are slippery as Vanilla Lake in Super Mario Kart, and the loading times make me question why I'm playing Sonic 06, but damn it, I had fun with this game! Watch this wonderful line between buggy and playable, where you can reasonably beat it without glitches getting in the way too much, but it's unpolished enough that you never know what's gonna go wrong next. This and the surprisingly good level design made the experience incredibly engaging for me. So engaging that it's the first Sonic game I actually beat. Only one route, mind you, but don't worry, I'm planning on doing all the others. As I said, Sonic 06 controls pretty ass. Sonic is overly twitchy, his jump is way too floaty, and the slide kick looks like a glitch even though that's how it works every time, and he's the best controlling character in the game. However, the sense of speed is definitely there, and as I said, the level design is really quite good. Levels are fairly long, sometimes to a fault, and their varied sections usually help the pacing. Usually! Some of these include fighting with Tails, trying to make him fly right, you've got stupid-ass Silver, who deserved so much better, and the fucking high-speed sections, which make me want to jump off of a bridge straight into ice-cold water, only to get ground up in a wood chipper and shot directly into the deepest, darkest pits of hell! Slight exaggeration. So yeah, when I say these help the pacing, I mean that they break up the purely Sonic bits of the game, which are by far the best in it, and really would have been better off omitted to give more polish to the actually good parts of the game. I tried to defend you, but you make it so hard! Anyways, back to those fucking high-speed sections for a second. I just have so much to say! These! God, I don't know where to start. Oh, I don't know, maybe the camera always being behind Sonic? You know how most games have cameras that stay behind a character but don't necessarily turn when the character does? Yeah, there's a reason for that, actually. This feels like stepping on Lego. And if the normal sections are twitchy, these should be in a hospital to get them checked out. It's like 70 orders of magnitudes worse. And the jumps! If you have commitment issues, don't play this game, because once you jump in a high-speed section, you are locked in. Oh! Like a jail! And if you make one wrong move, you gotta do the whole section all over again, and it's always a fucking jump that does it for me! And to top it all off, the rotten cherry on the top of this garbage jump cake, Sonic's run cycle animation doesn't match the speed he's going, and it looks weird! It should be noted, though, that these sections aren't in every stage and take up maybe 5% of the game time overall, so it's really not something that you should go on about for a whole paragraph. What, do you think I have anything better to do than contradict myself? Anyways, that's enough negative about Sonic 06. Back to the positives! I already kinda talked about them. The level design really is this game's one and only saving grace. But despite the rest being subpar to horrible, there's just something about this game that kept me hooked. I learned about it first through Char-I-5 and Nathaniel Bandy's videos on the subject, and ever since I've been weirdly drawn to this game. It's not good at all, but I had an incredible amount of fun with it, and can really see the potential lying beneath the... admittedly really ugly exterior. If you too feel this draw, I encourage you to give the game a shot. Who knows, you could also have fun with it. That's right, I'm telling you to join us! Sonic and the Black Knight is the definition of cool. The premise is simple. Sonic finds himself in a medieval fantasy world and has to defeat a very mean King Arthur. On his quest, he'll encounter several foes with familiar faces and become the Knight of the Wind. He'll speed through levels set in caves, fields, a town, and a volcano. The environments really stuck out to me. They're nothing super creative, but they work really well within the context of the game and do a really good job at keeping it grounded. And for a Wii game, they look quite good, I think, especially the grass effect. You blast through levels really quick, which helps make up for the lower overall level of detail. And speeding through them is fun. The controls aren't the best in the series, but they're really solid. Everything just feels right. Whenever I made a mistake, it was my fault. The only complaint I have is that Sonic can't turn around, so if you miss something and you want to go back in a level, you have to slowly back up, which can be quite tedious. On a more positive note, while inaccurate to your motions, swordplay feels really good as well, especially when you get the hang of keeping momentum with it. The levels all do a good job at meshing with Sonic's moveset, and I say it's a fairly well-designed game overall. The unique level gimmicks range from pretty good to bad, and there aren't that many of them like a typical Sonic game. Because of this and the reusal of some themes, the levels can sometimes blend together, but it really isn't that bad. The important thing is that they're pretty much all fun. They're also fairly short, as is the game itself. How Long to Beat wasn't lying, this game really is around 4 hours long. I beat most of this game in an afternoon with my Sonic-obsessed friend, but that certainly isn't a bad thing. It's an extremely lean game with almost no fat or filler. It stays fun for the entirety of its runtime and fits neatly into it. It's a nice change of pace from the often bloated open-world games of today, and even just longer games, even excellent ones, in general. It's just kind of nice to have a game that you can beat in an afternoon. But, beyond that, what separates this game from every other Sonic game, the single biggest revolution in the series' history, Sonic can break pots in this game. On the topic of Sega, over the summer when I played Sonic, I was able to get together with my friends a few times, and a game, actually two, cemented themselves as clear multiplayer staples for us. Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2, who win, you guessed it, the Best Multiplayer Award. Did you know that these games are rated E for violence? Maybe they mean the shit that'll ensue when I get my magnet stolen in Monkey Target for the 5th time! This mode is awesome! In both games as well. We're not too religious about which version we play, but 2 is the overall favorite. There's always that one asshole who gets the stars and the magnets before everyone else, the one right on their tail, and then there's me. I don't really care about how well I do though, because whenever I play these, I'm having a good time with the boys! That's right, expletives and death threats for everyone. And if you get tired of Monkey Target, there's stuff like Monkey Bowling, no. And Monkey Fight to go back to whenever you feel like it. These really are two excellent multiplayer offerings, but now on to another series featuring monkeys. Or should I say apes? Metal Gear. It can't be. But it can and is! Also, no, we're not talking about the Ape Escape thing in MGS3. I honestly just needed a segue into this. Yes, Metal Gear 5 returns for the 2nd year running, and I swear I have a good excuse. After quite a while of not playing any games really seriously, this game got through to me and it was magical. I was bored one evening and decided that for once I'd finally sit down and play a game. That day, I learned that you can launch an airstrike in the game, and my whole worldview changed. Is life worth living after all? Have I found my purpose? Is death really the only source of peace for me? That was until I had to go to bed and live through another fucking day, but back to the game. I said it last year, and I'll say it again. This game hasn't aged a day. I honestly think that if this game was released today, pretty much no one would bat an eye at it, and it would be just as well received as it was when it released initially. A huge part of this is how the game feels. Realistic games can still struggle with feeling satisfying, and even ones I really like, such as the Uncharted games, miss the mark a little on feeling perfect. Metal Gear Solid 5 does have its fair share of jank, but overall it feels superb to control, and I think that comes down to everything having a lot of impact. The speed of everything perfectly matches with the animations, and Snake feels super weighty. This is all enhanced tenfold by the amazing sound design, adding so much more satisfaction and distinction to Snake's different actions. The gunplay is excellent too, also elevated by the sound design. Every gun sounds and feels unique and has different stats, and you can only carry one heavy, one primary, and one secondary weapon at a time. This ties into the game's openness, which compels the player to experiment with what weapons they use and how they approach any given situation. There's no right or wrong way to complete any mission, which is great for f***s like me who attempt stealth only to blow the whole area to smithereens. This design also makes the upgrade system incredibly satisfying, as every upgrade and expansion to your arsenal has a lot of value and expands the sandbox of the game. It's almost akin to getting a new game, like, wow, this is so cool! Okay, back to Tears of the Kingdom and my silence pistol. Yeah, admittedly, I definitely have my comfort zone, but I still really like the system. Metal Gear Solid 5 certainly isn't a perfect game. Sometimes the gameplay gets a bit repetitive, the story, while decent, doesn't come close to the rest of the series. For a while, the environment looks the exact same almost all the time until you unlock literally one more environment type. Wow! Instead of being tan, now the ground's brown! Kiefer Sutherland. But those flaws don't hinder my enjoyment of the game too much. It's one that I can pop in at any time and have fun with. It's a game that I like to bite away chunks of gradually, rather than blast through all at once. While I didn't play that much of it this year, it was probably only like 5 hours or so, it had the profound impact of starting me on a journey back into loving gaming and actually being happy sometimes. And I think it more than deserves being in a second one of these videos, purely for that. Super Mario Wonder is what happens when you give a passionate, talented team of designers time and freedom. It's glorious. It's quite literally just the feeling of joy distilled into a video game. I played this in multiplayer with my brother, and we had an absolute blast from start to finish. I think we can all agree the new Super Series was pretty mediocre in comparison to the rest of the series' pedigree, but Mario Wonder rises from that mediocrity like a phoenix from ashes, the most original, inventive 2D Mario game ever. The main mechanic of this game are the Wonder Flowers. When Mario touches one of these things, he gets tripped up on acid and everything turns on its head. Mama fucking mia, Luigi, this shit is the bomb! In a Donkey Kong-ass silhouette level, everything gets comically tall. In another level, a Boo sings opera. In another, it rains stars. In another, it makes a level a rhythm-based speedrun. And in yet another, you become a Goomba. And that's less than 5% of all the levels in the game. It's so good, one of the most memorable levels is the second one, and features piranha plants singing. Are you seeing this? This is the second level, and it doesn't let up. Ideas are reused at the most once or maybe twice, and a ton of them honestly could have had way more levels using them, but the team decided to go for quality and quantity. After all, I wouldn't want more if they weren't good. I can't get over how much this game simply oozes creativity in every way. The single disappointment is the boss fights, all of which are a very samey Bowser Jr. one. Certainly a letdown compared to the originality of the rest of the game, but it is quite literally the only blemish on this masterpiece. The power-ups are some real highlights too. The Elephant Apple, Drill Shroom, and Bubble Flower are all some of the most fun power-ups in the series, and all add multiple abilities to Mario's toolbox, which is a staple of a good Mario power-up. Mario moves just perfectly in this game, a wonderful blend of the pinpoint precision of World and the momentum and floatiness of 3. It uses decimated animation to achieve a kind of 2D look in 3D, which works perfectly. The posing is wonderful, from the squashness of the crouch to the iconic jump. Everything feels and looks brilliant. Speaking of looks, have you seen this game? It looks a little dark. Oh, that's better. The art style of this bad boy is exactly what and I think almost everyone else wanted from a modern 2D Mario game. A bold, distinct, colorful style that'll hold up basically forever. First of all, these levels look outstanding. The foregrounds aren't super dissimilar to the Marios of old, but they all have this added depth and contrast. The colors everywhere in this game are some of the most vibrant in the series, and I love it! Backgrounds for the most part are grounded with their levels, have many layers of parallax, and separate wonderfully from the foreground. This is a textbook example of how to do platformer graphics right, a triumph in every way. I talked about the animation before a little, and it's fantastic. Another standout of it is the expressiveness of all the characters. The faces they make are all so much fun and bring a ton of life and vibrancy into the game, along with other fun effects like the way the run looks. Everything in this game is just bursting with joy and character, and those good vibes are infectious. I'm not lying when I say I had a smile on my face the entire time I played the game. It is that happy and fun. Another way in which it achieves this is the sound design. Unlike the mind-numbingly similar audio of the new Super Series, this game sounds bold and fresh.
Wonderful!
Check out this sound. Ooh, and the jump. This is a good video game. Again, everything is positively brimming with energy, a great example being the sound that plays when you do a ground pound. It's a drum roll followed by a crash when you actually hit the ground, and it just adds so much impact and liveliness to the move. Also, the music and sound is adaptive, because this is in fact a good video game. Check this out. This? You know, I've never seen a bad game with adaptive audio. It really encourages teamwork and allows cheesing levels with the ghost system, which is a lot of fun. It does make the levels quite a bit easier, but with how enjoyable and slightly chaotic it is, that doesn't really matter. Mario Wonder is the refreshing take on the 2D formula the series has needed for years, and for that, it easily wins the Best Platformer award, and ties with Xenoblade for the Best Art Direction award. Keeping with the theme of beautiful 2D platformers, we have the winner of the Game I Wish I Played award, Pizza Tower. This game is inspired by Mr. Sex Appeal himself, Wario, and they nailed the energy and the sexiness. The animation has this incredible, chaotic, almost MS Paint look to it and fits the vibe like a perfectly sized, nice warm merino wool on the inside, waterproof Gore-Tex on the outside glove. That's right, I'm Canadian, bitch. The gameplay seems to be this amazing blend of Sonic, Wario Land, and Metroid, which sounds just so up my alley, and looks like an absolutely incredible amount of fun. Donkey's video on this game is what really sold me on it. The only reason I haven't checked it out yet is that it isn't on console yet, and I'm just not that big of a fan of PC gaming. I say that as if my credibility wasn't low enough already. Hopefully it gets ported soon though, I definitely will pick it up if it does. November 17, 2023. I take a trip to the local game store with my brother to trade in a bunch of games we weren't planning on playing. A box full of NES stuff ain't gonna all be bangers, you know? Anyway, we traded it in, and man, did we get a good haul out of it. This gets my Best Pickup award for the variety and quality of the stuff I got from it. A lot of things I'd been hoping to get at some point for a long time. Do you also get excited about Irrelevance? For me, it meant getting a copy of Spirit Tracks, getting me one step closer to a complete Zelda collection, a Game Boy Advanced, almost completing my Nintendo console collection, still don't have a Virtual Boy, and finally getting a Sega Saturn, perfectly filling out my retro game setup. Yes, I know. Ooh, are you actually gonna build a collection for it, Coco? Yeah, duh. There's a fighting game on it where you can fight as the palm tree on the AM2 logo. Of course I'm gonna buy that! Speaking of the Saturn, I wasn't gonna go home without a game, and the game I chose was When I picked up my Saturn, I figured I needed a game to go with it, so I chose USA. It fit into my budget, and having played the 360 demo and the arcade cabinet once, I figured it would be a decently solid pick for the price. I knew it wasn't the best port, but I thought, might as well. That's what I thought I'd get. What I actually got was one of the most fun racers I have ever played. Yeah, it might run at just 20 FPS. Yeah, the pop-in is some of the worst I've seen, but the feel. Holy shit. The feel. This game plays so well. Seriously, all those technical issues I talked about don't matter one bit. Once you pop this game on and get in the race, it's like you become one with it. Everything else fades away. All there is you, the car, and the tarmac in front of it.
That's right. Vroom, bitch.
It feels almost exactly like the arcade version and works incredibly well with the Saturn's controller. The music is altered from the arcade version, but it still captures the same energy, and the difference kind of fades away when you play it. Take a listen. Graphically, it's certainly downgraded, running at 20 FPS, having far less polygons than the arcade version, and with pop-in that even modern Pokemon can't rival, but it still keeps the vibe.
It's kind of like me. If you squint your eyes enough, I start to look attractive. I swear.
The car, that's the car, man, and all the courses still capture the look of the arcade versions. Speaking of the courses, there are only 3, but they're all a lot of fun, from the 3 turns of the beginner course, to the scenic intermediate one, to the almost road trip of the expert one. Each one is well designed and befits its name. That is to say, I'm ass at the latter 2. Whatever, who cares? Do I look like I'm competent at anything?
For the record, I'm not.
The tracks themselves are phenomenal, but the absolute bangers that accompany them are just as good, maybe even better. Every song in this game is incredibly memorable and fun. No matter how many times I play them, I never get bored of this awesome music. So yeah, Daytona USA is an absolutely killer arcade racer, and wins not only the Best Retro Game Award, but also the Unexpected Hit Award for resonating with me way more than it had any right to. Around this time, I got together with the boys again to celebrate one of the guys' birthdays, and along with Super Monkey Ball, we played the winner of the Best Fighting Game Award, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yeah, I know. It's like saying grass is the best grass or that Wario is the sexiest woman to have ever existed. It's not very controversial, is it?
I've been playing this game since it came out in 2018, and somehow it almost never gets stale. We actually played a lot with items on this year, which I think made the game a lot more fun and interesting after quite a while of never using them. The chaos that ensues and the sheer unpredictability of matches made for some insane plays and hilarious moments. They also give me a chance of winning matches.
Chance!
If you haven't tried playing this way, I urge you to give it a shot. For us, it breathed some new life into an, at the time, 6 or 7-year-old game, and it very well could do the same for you. Back to that pickup though, there was one other game I got in it that I've neglected to mention. The game that truly got me back into gaming. This is Xenoblade Final Fantasy XVI. This is also the winner of the Best Narrative, Most Atmospheric, Best Action Game, and Best RPG awards.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's right, this game and Future Redeemed are both so good that each deserves the Best RPG award.
Sex games.
Did you know there are people who don't like this thing?
This is an action RPG with combat very similar to a character action game like Devil May Cry, just with some more numbers, and this pisses some people off, I guess. Many say this isn't a real Final Fantasy because of its tone and primarily its combat. Unlike these people, I'm not really religious about how I want my Final Fantasies, understand that it's a series that's been changing a ton ever since Final Fantasy VII, and I just like good games. If you happen to be like me, then this game should be right up your alley because the quality of it is off the charts. First off, this is one of the nicest eye massages I've ever had, and that's impressive considering I can't even handle getting dihydrogen monoxide in these things. It's gorgeous, and I think that it does a good job of making a combination of realistic rendering and more anime-like character design blend together seamlessly, as with 7 Remake. Unlike 7 Remake, however, 16 is a much darker game in tone. This is reflected in the less saturated color palette, which, while not muted or dull by any stretch of the imagination, lends the game a more grounded feel. Every environment is supremely atmospheric. We got Scotland! God, I hate alcohol.
This tastes like Windex!
And
I don't like sand.
the incredible soundtrack is just as important to the atmosphere, however. From bombastic, hype-ass battle themes to the cozy, comforting music of your base to disturbing ambient area themes that tell you something's gone wrong. This atmosphere aids what I believe to be the strongest part of Final Fantasy XVI, which is, say it with me here,
The sex
story.
hotels.
Dude! It was like as good as Xenoblade.
Do you realize how much that says about this thing?
Sex games. The main characters really carry this story. Sid, who I want to be when I grow up, Clive, Jill, my absolute fucking goat, Gav, the absolute man of all time. He's such a fucking Torgal! Look at this good-ass boy. He's the goodest boy. The boy ever. Look at him. He's so cute and you can pet him and he fights with you. And that's why Final Fantasy XVI is the doggo game of the year for Torgal, who's awesome and cool.
What, do I really have to sell you on the game beyond that?
Okay, back to the characters. Although, can you really blame me for getting distracted? He's such a good boy. The main cast is all really well fleshed out with interesting arcs and clear and complex motives. Clive, the main character you play as, is a clear highlight here. He's present throughout the entire game and thus has the most development, and damn, does this man go through some shit. Easily one of the most insane character arcs I've ever seen in a game. You've probably noticed I'm being pretty vague, and that's both because of my creeping dementia.
I'm a teenager! I think?
And also because the story is so good, I really don't want to spoil or butcher it. This is probably a good time to mention that there is a free 2-hour demo on the PlayStation Store. It's a little light on gameplay, but the story more than made up for it and really pulled me in. Speaking of the story, I feel like the best way to describe it is that every major mission has earth-shattering plot points and a boss that feels like it could be the final one. The quality of the main story is of the highest level, with well fleshed out and super distinct side characters. Shout out to my man, Uncle Byron. I love this dude. The side characters in this game, seriously, so good. The villains are all really good too, each with their own understandable motives. They're also complete assholes, as are like half or even more of the NPCs. Like, damn, he wasn't lying. This game gets really dark, and it is depressing. Not afraid to go to the places most other games don't have the balls to go. I don't think every story needs to be this dark or do what it does. After playing this game, a happy ending palate cleanser is very much recommended, but it works so well for this specific game. Some of the very fun subject matters include trauma, slavery, and extreme discrimination. To give you an idea of just how dark this game is, there's a side quest where a nobleman tells you his son is being attacked by a wolf in a nearby field, and that you need to go save him. You kill it and then learn it was trained, and his son was only faking being scared. Turns out he would send out bearers, people who can use magic and aren't treated as human, to help his son so they could watch the wolf kill the bearer.
I think I'm gonna go play some Kirby now.
At least they get their comeuppance at the end of the quest when you hear the son being attacked by a new wolf they bought. But still, I've never felt such visceral disgust for the actions of NPCs in any other video game. The emotions that Final Fantasy XVI brings out of you are as broad in range as they are intense, and this is a good example of a particularly poignant one, and I think it's super cool.
Oh yeah, I have my papers.
Oh yeah, also this is a video game!
Shit, that's right.
Gameplay. Like most RPGs, it basically boils down to combat and exploration. Exploration is mainly emphasized in the build-up to missions, and takes place in several segmented, vast, sprawling landscapes that smartly aren't too big and harbor some neat hidden areas with super bosses or treasure. They're good incentives to explore that also aren't something that you're gonna feel bad about not doing while you're doing the main quest. You also explore and fast travel around the map for side quests. A lot of people have problems with these, and yeah, they're not super in-depth. A lot of it is just fast traveling and talking to a bunch of people or fighting off a horde of enemies. But the stories behind these I found usually to be quite compelling. I only did the ones after a certain big event, which I won't spoil, but a lot of them have multiple parts and did a really good job at fleshing out the world of the game even more.
Consider me not a hater.
The other side of the gameplay is combat. This was co-developed by Platinum Games, and of course they cooked here. I expect nothing less from the developers of Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. It's relatively simple at first, but as you go on, it opens up more and more and allows you to build Clive in the way that you find most fun to play. It doesn't force you down any one route, and the upgrade system for the abilities you have does a very good job at encouraging experimentation. The feel of it is what trumps everything though, slashing at enemies with your sword, impaling them, setting them on fire, blowing a ton of them back with an AoE move. It all feels and looks excellent. The particle system really shines here. The rumble effects for each move complete the feel, really helping with selling the impact and texture of the moves.
You're only gonna get high-class reviews that go into the rumble features of the game from me. I'm borderline autistic.
It's fairly derivative of the typical character action game combat formula, but that's far from a bad thing, and the game does a pretty good job at pacing combat encounters so it doesn't get stale. The only time I ever started to feel like there was a bit too much combat was in a fortress near the end of the game that is very obviously meant to feel like that. The gameplay loop is solid then, and contributes to the incredibly polished feel of the game. It's not perfect, as I mentioned, side quests could be better, at points the pacing can derail a little bit, but those are small blemishes on an otherwise excellent experience. I think I liked it because of the Xenoblade similarities.
Sex games.
Final Fantasy XVI kept its hooks in me the whole way through. When I wasn't playing it, I was thinking about it. And in a year as hard as 2023 was for me, that was an amazing accomplishment, achieved only by this, Xenoblade, and the game I'm about to talk about next. I largely organized this video in the order of when everything happened, from the start of the year to the end of it. However, there was one game I played that deserved to be saved until the very end. It wins the Best Action Adventure Game Award. It ties with Final Fantasy for the most atmospheric. It wins the Best Gameplay Award, and it runs away with the award for Best Exploration.
It's my game of the year and my favorite game of all time. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. How does he not get vertigo doing that?
I waited for 4 years for this. I think it was worth it. Yes, on May 12th, 2023, Tears of the Kingdom was released, and my hype was at critical levels. I went to the 9 p.m. midnight launch of the game at my local GameStop the day prior, in a line of over 100 people eager to get their hands on the game. I chatted with a guy I hadn't seen in a while as we were waiting, which was really nice. This was my first midnight launch ever, and it was fantastic. I rushed home with my collector's edition, opened it, and I played it for days. Talking about Tears of the Kingdom is a monolithic challenge, because it's so incredibly massive that I don't even really know where to start.
I'll talk about this. That doesn't narrow it down anymore, does it?
I have ADHD. For the longest time, I didn't know, but this year I was finally told I have it. Tears of the Kingdom is one of the most open games I've ever played, and thus is the perfect ADHD video game. While the sheer scale of the game can be overwhelming at times, the amount of stuff to do also makes the game endlessly engaging. Die to a Gleeok for the 50th time?
Just because I'm a gamer doesn't mean I'm good at video games.
Maybe it's time to visit a shrine. Want to go to the depths?
Oh, I will be at the end of my life, so I suppose a preview couldn't hurt.
Depths get boring?
I have been down here for 8 hours. 15 more minutes, it'll be fine.
Maybe it's time to follow the main quest.
Follow, he says. Oh, that's funny.
Finish that up after 20 hours of getting distracted by other cool stuff? Why not go and try to kill that Gleeok again?
And then find a shrine along the way, and then go down the path, and then go horse riding, and then you gotta over the table, and then, oh no, my boy's pet's there, and then go and into the sky.
Leaving the pacing to the player like this can be a problem sometimes, as obviously you can't reasonably predict how everyone is going to play the game. I think there could be quite a few people who just did the main story quest, which is far from the ideal way to play the game. The entire point of it is exploration and discovery, and the experience just staying focused on the main path, I think misses the point of the game.
I mean, I'm sure there are things that have done it and have had a good time doing so, it's just that I don't really see them as humans.
It still lets you do this, though. What's wonderful about Tears of the Kingdom compared to other modern open-world efforts is that it understands that the player is in control of the pacing, and the game is designed around that, just like Breath of the Wild. It's amazing that that concept still feels fresh even 6 years on. Wherever you go, there's always something interesting, be it an enemy camp, a settlement, something to do with a side quest, a cave, a shrine, Koroks, Addison, or an overworld puzzle. They even expanded the world to include the sky, which has an emphasis on puzzle solving and figuring out ways to get from island to island, and the depths, which focuses on traversal puzzles. Both of these, of course, have enemies and bosses scattered throughout them as well, and have items unique to them. This adds both gameplay and atmospheric variation to the game, and through the unique experience they provide, incentivizes you to engage with the entirety of the world in a way that's endlessly engaging. The world is positively brimming with stuff to do, although when you do that, bloating the game is certainly a risk. In Tears of the Kingdom, let me put it this way, where other games trip and fall, this game just stumbles. There are certainly some just useless fetch quests, and Koroks are still a problem, but most of the shrines are pretty fun, and there are some legitimately awesome side quests. Shout out to my boy Pen, man. This aspect, I think, really helps give significance to the core values that this game is built around: exploration and freedom. None of this would work without rock-solid base mechanics, and Tears of the Kingdom excels there. The base combat and movement mechanics return from Breath of the Wild and again feel absolutely perfect, but the abilities Link has in this game are what really make it shine. Ultra Hand allows you to get really creative and build whatever abominations your heart desires. Ascend breaks traversal in half in the most wonderful way possible. Recall is the most badass thing in a video game since Shadow the Hedgehog, and Fuse is frankly just one of the most genius mechanics in any game ever. When they demonstrated it in the Zelda Direct, my mind was blown at how much of a genius concept it is. It's such an obvious thing to add in retrospect, but just not something most people would think of. I could go into how it helps fix the weapon durability problem, how much it expands combat, how it makes objects more valuable, but I know I don't really need to. Look at this. Meat arrow.
Not super dissimilar to something in my pants, if you catch my drift.
This is what everything has led up to. The entire history of gaming, art, humanity, hell, the entire universe as a whole led up to this exact point. That is until strong, long stick.
Not super dissimilar to something in my pants.
This is the very reason humans ever existed. I need only point to this as proof of a god watching over and blessing us. Such perfection could never be achieved by humans alone.
Look, I made my own strong long stick. Not super It doesn't do that in the game.
So the abilities in Tears of the Kingdom feel like an incredibly natural extension of what Breath of the Wild introduced, but they add so much more depth to the game and still floored me. I didn't really know what to expect, but I sure as hell didn't think I could build a car or a flying machine.
I just saw that someone made a Godzilla online. A dog petting machine? Okay, filming can wait. Like, I've got things to do.
I think when it comes to the abilities, John Cartwright of Good Vibes Gaming puts it best. Any of these could be their own game, but Tears of the Kingdom has them all. It's absolutely insane just how much creativity and ingenuity this game just exudes. Like I said at the beginning of this section, talking about Tears of the Kingdom is a bigger challenge than I think most people realize. The monstrous size and amount of high-value content in the game make it almost impossible to cover my feelings about the game in a way that feels complete and cohesive. Every time I play it, I discover something I want to talk about concerning it. One time it was about this really cool side quest, another time I wanted to talk more about the depths, another still it was about the magic of discovery of the unknown after I found a boss on a seemingly nondescript island.
Oh, I can keep going on if you want.
I haven't talked about everything I wanted to here. I barely even touched on the sky and the depths, the side quests, the set pieces. Now that I think about it, the only thing I really talked about in full-ish was the abilities. This is one of those games that truly warrants an hour-plus long review. But I think it's about time to wrap things up. Before that, though, it is important to acknowledge that this game does have its flaws. It's more of a half-step when it comes to fixing the problems that Breath of the Wild introduced to the games than it is a full-on leap. Dungeons are still shorter and more simple than in previous entries, although the addition of actual themes really aids the atmosphere of them, and the puzzle design is still excellent. However, shrines do take a bit of a hit in puzzle difficulty, weapon durability can still be a bit of a problem, and the Skies and Depths content is a bit questionable. The Skies, it just feels like there isn't enough, and while the content isn't copy-pasted too many times, it feels like there should be more there, and more types of islands. And then the Depths, it feels like there's too much of it. It's just an inverted version of Hyrule's map, which is a really cool concept, that sounds awesome, right? But it needs more aesthetic variation to make exploring such a massive map more palatable. I still had my fun in both, I really enjoyed the game overall, and I found myself going to the Depths way more than I thought I would, but there certainly are still problems with this game. But hey, that means the next Zelda game has the opportunity to improve on these blemishes. And I think that's something that we can all get really excited about. As I was writing this last paragraph, I just finished watching King K's video on Tears of the Kingdom. It was a terrible month when I did, I wasn't doing very well, but that video gave me some genuine joy in the face of my inner turmoil. But more than that, it reminded me why I love Tears of the Kingdom. It's not a perfect game. Far from it. But nothing is or even can be truly perfect. No human can ever be or create something perfect. That's the point, though. That's the beauty of our species and the beauty of our art. It's all inherently flawed. If someone really loves something, they love it despite its imperfections. They know about all of them, they acknowledge them even, but those imperfections just don't really matter to them. Tears of the Kingdom is that for me. It's a game I accept for what it is rather than despise for what it could be. It can feel bloated, the storytelling doesn't work all the time, and occasionally it's a bit of a clunkfest, but to me, none of that really matters. Tears of the Kingdom is the most incredibly freeing, utterly engrossing, jaw-droppingly creative experience I've ever had. Without a shadow of a doubt, this is my favorite game of all time. "2023 was a hellish roller coaster ride I never want to experience anything like ever again, but hey, at least my gaming experience was pretty good. I certainly didn't play everything I wanted to, but so far 2024 looks pretty light on releases, so I should be able to get to some of these this year. Because I don't know about you, but my backlog looks like this. So it'll be pretty nice to be able to get through some of these this year.
I'm fooling no one. We all know that I'm just gonna put another 100 hours into Tears of the Kingdom anyways. Oh, well, you know, if you squint your eyes enough at this bottle of isopropyl alcohol, it starts to look like some white wine. Oh, that's right, it's isopropyl alcohol. I drank half this bottle. Look, Mom, I drew Wario. Yeah, I'm doing an any % speedrun of having no credibility. Psycho Mantis. Second floor basement. Kept you waiting, huh? Kept you waiting, huh? Tactical advantage whatsoever. Which is great for f***s like me, who attempt stealth only to blow the whole area to smithereens. I am a wanted psychopath! Does that really surprise anyone, though? Mostly... backing up again. Okay.
So here's Luke.
Hi!
Curled up in a ball with whatever, and here am I. I'm standing on top of him.
So much easier with
I have my legs. I have my legs like around him.
We're cutting this.
My knees are giving out.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're done. Okay. Awesome. That's everything.
Okay. Can't laugh at it.
I win! I win! Ah!
God damn it, the cable's in shot.
Oh no!
Oh, Zelda and crotch. It's a good shot.
He hates me. Oh yeah. My
Zelda.
crotch, big event.
Zelda and your crotch.
And it's like the two best things ever.